They said it was an ordinary night, until the sky betrayed us. The children had finished playing by the dusty village paths. Fires crackled in clay cooking stoves. Mothers whispered evening prayers, and the elders gathered beneath the great mango tree like they always did. But something felt wrong. When the first person looked up, they screamed. The moon was gone. Not hidden, not covered by clouds, not shy, just gone. No stars, no silver light, only a thick darkness that felt alive. Suddenly, the wind stopped blowing. The leaves froze mid-flutter. Even the crickets refused to sing. Our village, always full of sound, became silent like a graveyard. Then the elders remembered the prophecy. When the sky rejects the village, it is not the heavens that are angry. It is a sin the earth has buried. Fear spread like wildfire. Mothers pulled their children inside. Doors slammed. Torches burned low as if afraid to shine too brightly. Animals sensed it first. The goats refused to move. The dogs whined and hid their faces. Even the proud village horses stood stiff like carved statues. And when the drum, the sacred talking drum that no one touched at night, began to beat on its own, dum, 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 that was when we realized this was no ordinary night. And somewhere in the darkness, shadows began to walk without their owners. Our village had awakened something ancient, something forgotten, something that wanted to be seen. But this was only the beginning. No one slept that night. Fires burned in every compound, but even the flames looked afraid, flickering weakly, like they didn't want to be part of what was happening. The elders gathered in the square, their faces tight with fear. Old scars of stories they once buried suddenly returned to their eyes. Elder Nana spoke first, his voice trembling. This darkness did not come by accident. The others nodded. Someone whispered, "Is it the gods?" But Elder Nana shook his head slowly. "No, this feels older than the gods we pray to." Before anyone could respond, a scream tore through the night, a woman's voice, sharp, terrified. From the far end of the village, people rushed out with torches, hearts pounding. They found Mama Ifeoma standing in front of her hut, shaking, pointing at the ground. Her shadow was gone. The fire burned beside her. The torchlight danced around her. But the earth behind her was empty. No shadow, just dust. People gasped. Some fell to their knees. Children cried. Because in our village, they say, a person without a shadow no longer belongs to the living. Before anyone could speak, another drum echoed across the night. Not from the shrine, not from any drummer. It came from the forest, deep, slow, calling something. Dumb, dumb, dumb. The ground trembled softly, and then the smell came. Old, dusty, like something that had been buried, rising again. An icy wind swept across the village, and every torch nearly died at once. Then the chief priest walked into the square, his eyes wide, his voice shaking, not with authority, but with fear. "They have returned," he whispered. "The forgotten blood, the family we erased from history." Everyone turned to him. "What family?" they demanded. He swallowed.
the ones we cursed, so that we could keep what was never ours. Silence. The night grew even darker, and from the edge of the forest, someone or something began to walk toward the village, slowly, purposefully, not rushing, because whatever it was, knew we could not escape. This was no punishment from the gods. This was revenge.
They say fear has a sound. That night, we heard it. It wasn't screaming, it wasn't crying, it was the sound of hearts beating loudly in the dark as every soul in the village watched that figure approach from the forest. At first, it looked human, tall, calm, covered in a long, dusty cloth that dragged along the ground like it had traveled for years. But as it stepped closer, the torches dimmed, as if the light itself refused to touch it. Someone whispered, "Don't look into its face." But curiosity is stronger than wisdom, so we looked, and that was our mistake. The face was pale, like ashes. The eyes were empty, yet burning with silent rage. And when it opened its mouth, no words came out, only a cold breath. A child standing nearby suddenly shook violently and collapsed. His shadow slid away from him like spilled water, then disappeared. People screamed and scattered, but the figure didn't chase anyone. It simply turned its head toward the elders' circle and raised its hand slowly, pointing straight at the eldest among them. Elder Nana staggered backward. His lips trembled. His eyes widened like he had seen a ghost he recognized. "No," he whispered, "it cannot be you." The figure tilted its head, as if to say, "You remember me." Before anyone could react, 3 more shapes emerged from the forest behind it, not walking, gliding, no feet touching the ground. A man, a woman, and a child. Their presence carried grief, not chaos, not madness, grief soaked in betrayal. The chief priest fell to his knees. He did not pray, he confessed. "We took their land, we silenced their name, we buried their story, and we cursed their bloodlines so no one would remember they ever existed." The villagers froze. Everything we thought we knew about our history shattered. The wind blew again for the first time that night, carrying an ancient voice through the darkness, a voice that didn't come from their mouths, but from the very ground beneath us. We did not come to destroy the village. We came to collect what belongs to us. Then the child among them lifted her head. Her eyes glowed faintly, and every door in the village unlocked by itself. The night wasn't just dark anymore. It was open, and whatever they wanted had already begun. When every door in the village unlocked on its own, the night changed. No one dared breathe too loudly. No one dared move. Because in our traditions, doors are not just wood and hinges. They are boundaries, protection, choices, and the darkness had just chosen for us. The forgotten family did not rush. They did not shout. They did not threaten. They simply stood there, letting the silence accuse us. The elders gathered closer, their pride gone, replaced by something they were never used to feeling: guilt. The chief priest spoke again, voice heavy like stone. "Many years ago, before most of you were born, this family owned the heart of our village,
The land, the river path, even the sacred drum belonged to their lineage. He swallowed. But power is a dangerous thing, and greed wears a friendly smile. The villagers looked at one another. Mothers clutched their children. Young men clenched their fists, not in bravery, but in fear of a truth they could not fight. The priest continued. Their harvest was always the best. Their animals always flourished. People came to them for help more than they came to the elders. They became loved, maybe too loved. Elder Nana's hands shook. The ghostly woman lifted her chin as if remembering. So the council decided they were a threat. Lies were planted. Accusations were made. We declared them cursed. We banished them, then bound their spirits to silence so that history would forget them. Silence slammed down. Someone whispered, "So they never did anything wrong." No one answered, because the truth was shameful. The tall figure finally moved. He raised his hand, and the ground beneath the sacred mango tree cracked open. Dust burst upward, roots twisted like living snakes, and something long hidden surfaced. An old wooden chest, rotten, sealed with ritual marks. Elder Nana cried out, "No, leave it buried." But the chest broke open on its own. Inside were scrolls, land documents, family seals, and a symbol every elder recognized. Proof, undeniable, their legacy, their right, their stolen destiny. The woman's voice finally spoke, soft, broken, echoing like wind over bones. "We didn't come to destroy your homes. We came to reclaim our name." But as her words faded, another drum sounded, not theirs, the shrine drum, loud, violent, almost angry. The chief priest's face drained of color, because that drum only beat for one reason: when something even darker than spirits is also awake. The forgotten family turned slowly toward the shrine. Their expressions changed. This night was no longer just about revenge. Something else had been waiting in the darkness, something that did not belong to them, something we never planned for. The moon had not simply refused to shine. It was hiding from what was truly coming.
We thought the forgotten family was the danger. We were wrong. When the shrine drum thundered again, the sound didn't echo like normal drums. It crawled, it slithered, it pushed fear into our bones. Dumb, dumb, dumb. The priest staggered backward. "No, no, this is impossible," he whispered. The wind began to swirl, lifting dust into the air until the village square looked like a storm made of memories. Fires flickered violently. Children screamed as their shadows stretched across the ground like living snakes. The forgotten family turned toward the shrine with sudden urgency. Their rage disappeared. Their grief vanished. Now they looked afraid too. And when the spirits fear, humans are already in danger. The tall spirit man spoke for the first time. His voice sounded like many voices speaking through one mouth. "You broke the covenant." The priest shook his head. "We only bound you. We never—" "Not with us," the spirit interrupted sharply. He pointed toward the shrine. "With the thing you used to bind us." The villagers stared, confused. "What thing?"
someone cried. The forgotten woman's voice trembled as she explained. To erase a family, you needed a darkness stronger than the gods, older than time, a power that doesn't forgive when used carelessly. Her eyes filled with sorrow. You borrowed it and never returned what it demanded in exchange. Silence shattered into panic, because in our culture, every power requires a price, and unpaid debts collect themselves. Suddenly, the ground beneath the shrine cracked open, not like before. This time, it burned. A deep red glow seeped from the soil like the heartbeat of the earth. Smoke hissed upward. The shrine roof trembled. Something beneath it was waking up. Something hungry. The chief priest fell to his knees and slammed his forehead to the ground. "It was before my time," he cried. "Our fathers did this. We only inherited." The spirit child stepped forward slowly, her voice heartbreakingly calm. "Inherit power, inherit land, inherit leadership." She lifted her eyes. "Then inherit your consequences." A loud snap echoed. Not wood, not stone, reality itself cracking. The air thickened. Breathing became difficult. People grabbed their throats, gasping. A dark mist crawled from the shrine door like a living creature dragging itself into the world. It didn't move fast. It didn't rush. True danger never hurries. The forgotten family stepped in front of the villagers, not as enemies now, but as a shield. The tall spirit turned, voice firm. "Stay behind us. Do not run. Do not scream. The thing feeding on fear should not taste your panic." We stared in disbelief. The ones we wronged were now protecting us. And then something inside the shrine took a breath, a deep, ancient inhale that shook the trees. The moonless sky grew even darker, and for the first time that night, even the darkness looked afraid.
That breath from the shrine was not just sound, it was a command. The trees bent, the ground trembled, even the air bowed, like something greater than all of us had just awakened. The dark mist thickened, curling like fingers searching for a throat to hold. Each time it passed near a person, their shadow shook violently, like it was trying to escape their body. One young man panicked. He screamed and tried to run. The mist reacted immediately. It lunged, faster than sight, colder than death. It wrapped around his legs, pulled him to the ground, and dragged him back toward the shrine. His nails carved desperate lines in the dirt as he begged and cried. But nothing in that night listened to human tears. Before anyone could help him, he vanished into the darkness. No body, no sound, no return, just gone. A silence of horror swallowed the village. We finally understood. This was not justice. It was not revenge. It was not tradition. This was hunger. The forgotten family stood firm, their forms glowing faintly now. They pushed their palms toward the shrine, chanting in a language older than our ancestors' bones. The mist recoiled slightly, but not in fear, more like annoyance. The tall spirit spoke urgently. "This is Eru Oku, the spirit of unpaid debts. It does not punish mistakes, it devours promises." The priest shook with despair. "What does it want?" The spirit woman's voice broke. "Balance." The shrine split wider, and then we saw it.
Not clearly, not completely, just eyes. Eyes that didn't shine with light, but swallowed light. Eyes that didn't look at us, they measured us, as if deciding what part of us to take first. The earth opened farther, revealing ancient chains buried beneath the shrine, chains wrapped in symbols, pulsing like veins. The villagers gasped. The priest whispered in terror, "That's what our fathers used. Those chains bound this spirit in exchange for power, strength, prosperity." The forgotten child turned slowly to the village. Everything this village enjoyed, everything it became proud of, came from a debt you never repaid. That was when the horrible truth settled over us like cold water. We were all living inside a blessing that was actually a loan. And now the lender had come. The forgotten man raised his voice, commanding us, "Everyone, step back from the shrine. Do not cry. Do not beg. It feeds on helplessness." We obeyed, not because we were brave, but because fear had taught us silence. The mist surged again, pushing forward like a tide of night. The forgotten spirits braced, their forms flickering as if struggling to remain solid. They weren't fighting an enemy, they were wrestling with a storm. The spirit woman whispered, "It will not stop. It wants a sacrifice." The villagers trembled. "A sacrifice of what?" someone asked. She looked slowly at the elders, then at the chest near the mango tree, then at the chains, and finally back at the shrine. Her voice came out in a whisper. "A sacrifice of truth. Because this evil was never born from darkness. It was fed by lies. And tonight, every buried truth was about to rise."
A sacrifice of truth. Those words didn't sound powerful. They sounded painful. Because in every village, truth is never just a story. It's usually a wound. The elders stood frozen. Their lips trembled. Their pride tried to speak, but fear pushed it back down. The forgotten spirits turned fully toward them now. Not angry, not vengeful. Just waiting. The villagers looked at the elders, the people they trusted, obeyed, honored, the people they believed could never do wrong. And for the first time, they looked small. The chief priest bowed his head, tears gathering in his eyes. If the spirit of unpaid debts feeds on lies, then we must open every hidden grave of truth. The tall, forgotten spirit nodded. "Speak it aloud before the night finishes you." The shrine pulsed again, the mist stretched closer, the chains groaned like something ancient testing its strength. We were running out of time. Elder Nana's voice cracked when he finally spoke. "We lied about the family." The villagers leaned forward. He continued, voice shaking. "We said they worshipped forbidden things. We said they cursed the crops. We said they poisoned the river. We accused them of crimes they never committed." The forgotten woman closed her eyes, grief washing through her glow. "And why?" someone shouted. Silence again. No excuse could make sense of what they did. So he spoke the ugliest truth. "Because they were better than us." The words fell like stones. Their wisdom, their kindness, their blessings, their prosperity, all of it threatened our power, so we chose control over fairness. The crowd shifted in shock. Mothers gasped, young men clenched their fists, children clung tighter to their mothers' wrappers. Elder Nana's tears rolled freely now. We took their land. We silenced their name. We erased them from stories. We made the village believe they never deserved to exist. The shrine growled, literally. The dark spirit pushed harder. 2 villagers collapsed to their knees as invisible hands squeezed their lungs. The forgotten family lifted their arms again, pushing back, but they were weakening. Truth had begun, but it wasn't complete. Another elder stepped forward, shaking. We didn't just erase them. We prospered with what belonged to them. He pointed to the grand houses, the fertile lands, the powerful families. Everything that has prestige today was stolen yesterday. People began to cry, not because of fear now, because shame hurts worse than terror. The forgotten child looked at the priest. Her voice was calm, but firm. That is the truth for us. But what truth woke Eru-Oku from its prison? The priest swallowed hard. His hands shook violently. Because there was still a bigger truth, the worst one. The one even the elders didn't want spoken. The priest whispered, "We did not just imprison the spirit to erase a family." He looked at the villagers, then at the ground, then at the shrine pulsing like a living wound. We locked it away with a promise this village has broken. The mist surged, roaring like a beast denied its meal. Torches blew out, children screamed. And then, for the first time since the night began, a sliver of the moon tried to appear in the sky, but something pulled it back into darkness. The forgotten spirits turned sharply to the priest. What promise did they break? The priest closed his eyes and whispered the truth that would change everything.
The priest's lips trembled. The forgotten spirits waited. The villagers held their breath. Even the wind stood still. Finally, he spoke. "We made a covenant with Eru-Oku to give it something precious every generation in exchange for power, protection, and prosperity." A murmur of terror rippled through the crowd. "What did we promise?" someone shouted. The priest's voice broke. "A child." The night froze. Mothers grabbed their children. Fathers stepped forward instinctively. Panic replaced confusion. The priest continued, tears streaming down his face. "Every generation, one child must disappear without explanation. The spirit marked the destined one by removing their shadow in childhood. The council would cover it up. The family would be told lies, accidents, stolen by the river, lost in the bush, taken by fate." A scream broke from somewhere in the crowd. Someone collapsed, because suddenly past tragedies made sense. Children who vanished, mysteries no one questioned, families who mourned without answers. They weren't fate, they were payment. And then came the truth that shattered the night. But for the last 2 generations, the council refused. We decided the village had grown strong enough. We chose to stop the sacrifice, but we never honored the debt or ended the covenant. The ground roared. The shrine shook violently. Eru-Oku didn't just wake, it remembered. The forgotten spirit man clenched his jaw. So it has come to collect everything because it was denied one. The villagers cried out in horror. A child pointed at the ground with trembling fingers. "Look!" Shadows. All across the village square, shadows began to tremble. Some stretched, some twisted, some tried to flee from the bodies they belonged to. Then one shadow broke free completely. It peeled away from a little girl standing near the front, silent tears on her face. She didn't scream. She didn't move. She just watched her shadow stand apart from her, like another version of herself. Eru-Oku roared in delight. The forgotten woman gasped. "She is the marked one."
The child looked around, breathing fast, confused and terrified. Her mother lunged forward. "No, please, she is all I have!" But the spirit child lifted her hand gently. "Do not cry. Remember, it feeds on helplessness." The mother bit her lips bloody, trying not to scream. The dark mist surged, pulling toward the child's separated shadow like a predator recognizing its prey. The shrine chains rattled louder, burning with deep crimson heat. The priest tried to stand between the child and the darkness. It swatted him aside like dust. The forgotten spirits braced themselves, chanting again, holding the darkness for just a moment longer, not to defeat it, just to buy time, because time was all hope had left. The forgotten spirit man shouted desperately, "Priest, elders, there must have been another condition in the covenant. Eru Oku never takes without contract. What else did your fathers agree to?" The priest shook his head violently, sobbing now. "There was nothing else, just the sacrifice." The ground cracked beneath his knees. The forgotten spirit woman stared at him sharply. "Are you sure?" He hesitated, and in that hesitation the darkness laughed, not loudly, just enough for the sky to understand fear, because the priest remembered something. Not a ritual, not a rule, a sentence, the one line everyone ignored. The forgotten child whispered, "Say it." He swallowed. His voice was barely a breath. "If ever the chosen child is denied to the spirit, then the village must give." He stopped. The villagers screamed. The darkness leaned forward. The moon tried to appear again, but even courage has limits. The priest forced out the final words. "The anyone who caused the debt in exchange." Meaning, Eru Oku didn't want a child anymore. It wanted an elder, a guilty one, a name, a life responsible. The darkness surged with furious hunger, because now it only needed to be shown who. The forgotten spirits turned toward the elders. The night held its breath, and the forgotten child whispered softly, "So, who among you started all of this?"
The night held its breath. Every eye fixed on the elders. Every heartbeat was a drum louder than the one shaking the shrine. Eru Oku's mist swirled, hungry, tasting the guilt of generations. It did not care for cries. It did not care for tears. It wanted justice, or at least payment. Elder Nana stumbled forward, shaking violently, eyes wild with terror. I did it," he gasped. "I was the one who signed the original covenant, long ago, before the last elders knew, before the village prospered." The villagers recoiled, children clutched their mothers, even the forgotten spirits faltered. The priest whispered hoarsely, "Your sins, your pride, your greed, it has led us here." The tall spirit stepped closer to the mist. "Show it him," he commanded. Eru Oku surged forward like a wave of midnight. Its tendrils of shadow reached Elder Nana, wrapping around his body. But instead of crushing, it paused. It was listening, waiting, judging. The forgotten woman whispered, "It does not take without a reason. Speak the truth fully, or it will take more than one." Elder Nana fell to his knees. We cursed the family because we were jealous. I wanted the village to be mine. I lied. I erased their history. I bound them with darkness, and I thought it was my right." The mist recoiled slightly, curling like smoke in a startled gust. The priest stepped forward, trembling. "You must admit all, the debts, The lies, the blood, the stolen children, the hidden graves, the unspoken truths. Nana's lips quivered. Everything, he screamed. Everything that I and the elders did, everything we buried, everything we took, everything we hid. I confess it all. Take me, take me. I accept the debt. Eru-oku paused. The air thickened. The village square grew still. Even the winds ceased. Then, slowly, the mist retracted. The shadows returned to their bodies. The little girl's shadow returned faintly, trembling, her hand held tightly by her mother. The forgotten family stepped back, glowing softly, exhausted. The tall spirit's voice echoed across the village. The debt is acknowledged, the hunger is sated, for now. Let this night be remembered, not as punishment, but as the lesson of truth. The moon tried to shine again, weakly at first, then brighter. Silver light spilled across the village square. The elders, shaken and broken, looked at the villagers. We have failed, but we will remember. We will rebuild, not with lies, but with truth. The forgotten family turned toward the forest. The spirit child whispered softly, "Never forget us again. Never silence the truth, or next time it will not wait." And with that, they vanished into the night. The village, once proud and prosperous, stood in silence. Shadows restored, moonlight returned, and the story etched forever into their hearts. The night had ended, but the lesson had just begun.
Every story hides a lesson, sometimes love, sometimes pain, but always truth. Subscribe to African Kingdom Folktales for more African tales that touch the soul.